Not only did they steal home court in the most dramatic way, Indiana silenced the New York crowd and took 2 straight wins, heading back home with a rock-solid 100% historical win probability. While Indiana was already sitting in a strong position, the Knicks were basically hanging on by a thread. They played like this could be their last game of the season. New York swapped in Mitchell Robinson as a starter over Josh Hart, hoping to take full advantage of their size mismatch. Robinson showed off his rebounding skills right from the jump, and a defensive battle wasn't a bad look for New York. Siakam, who ran the show in Game 2, kept getting shut down this time, so far proving that starting Robinson was paying off. Indiana quickly leaned on their deep roster, while Miles McBride already picked up his 3rd foul, making things tougher for the depth-thin Knicks. The stretch with mixed benches tilted in favor of the home team. The Knicks used some soft calls to their benefit, getting to the line and staying alive in the back and forth. But Indiana's variety of contributors helped them take the lead. Indiana flipped the score again thanks to their depth, and needed to stretch that lead while Brunson was on the bench. Towns, who'd been quiet, finally started scoring. But McConnell kept pushing the tempo like he had since the first quarter, so Indiana held onto the momentum they built early.
And launching a 3. Mathurin grabs it. Ahead it goes. Siakam in full stride.
Even the struggling Siakam forced a timeout with a strong transition play. Suddenly, the game was going just how the home team wanted. Coach Thibodeau surprisingly used a wide rotation tonight, but those changes didn't lead to much production. Towns got an and-one play against Haliburton that looked big, maybe giving the Knicks some momentum as they trailed. But after a challenge, it was overturned to an offensive foul. That gave him his 3rd foul already. Meanwhile, Indiana kept adding points from all over the roster, and soon they built up a double-digit lead. Once Towns went out, New York's offense completely stalled, and Indiana's smothering defense looked even more impressive.
Steal by Haliburton. 2-on-1 with Shepard, and a trailer in Toppin.
Then Haliburton and Toppin teamed up for a highlight alley-oop after a stop, which totally got the crowd going. On the flip side, Brunson got a little banged up, and it felt like nothing was going right for New York. Haliburton, who was heating up with some pull-up threes,
The challenge. Picked off Haliburton.
This has got to be a timeout coming after this for New York.
scored on a steal and dunked to push the lead to 20. This series looked like it might end way earlier than expected, and to make things worse for the Knicks, Brunson joined Towns in foul trouble, getting hit with his 4th foul and heading to the bench. But around then, Indiana stopped increasing the gap, and New York managed to cut the lead a bit by halftime. Still, the vibe on the court clearly belonged to Indiana. Of course, the pressure was on the Knicks down in the series. Luckily for them, OG Anunoby's outside shooting looked solid today, and their defense was slowly picking up intensity too. Plus, Indiana's shots started missing after going up by 20, and it looked like the Knicks had a chance to make it close again. But then Towns got hit with a really weak 4th foul, and even Brunson looked overwhelmed by Nembhard's defense. Nembhard, already locking down Brunson, chipped in from outside too, and Indiana held a steady lead around 15 points.
Haliburton looking one way, feeling the other. Siakam inside. Wow.
And the no-look again by Haliburton.
When Siakam finished off a slick pass from Haliburton, it felt like Indiana couldn't be playing any better. But then, during a landing, Nembhard suddenly got hurt, suffering a surprise ankle injury and heading off the court. That could have been a huge momentum shift for the rolling Pacers. But New York surprisingly couldn't take much advantage of it.
Knocked away, turnover, Indiana's got it, and numbers, Toppin!
Indiana dominated in fast break points right from the start and kept pushing, targeting New York's fatigue. Up to that point, Indiana looked great at managing the lead, but then the Pacers made 3 straight turnovers late in the quarter, and those mistakes stopped them from totally blowing the game open. That gave the Knicks one more reason to believe. In today's NBA, a 10-point lead doesn't mean much. New York ended the quarter on a pretty solid run, with Towns stepping up big while Brunson sat, suddenly turning it into a 5-point game. They cut down a 20-point deficit just like that. Towns, who had been resting thanks to foul trouble,
Back to McBride, trailing Towns by Turner and hard to the hole. It is a 3-point game.
came out bursting with energy and led the comeback. It honestly felt like the game was starting all over again. With the win no longer guaranteed, Indiana turned to Siakam's jumper, which helped them at least hold off the lead change for now. Towns, no longer holding back, stayed aggressive, making up for his defense with huge plays on offense.
Up in the league in the playoffs.
Bridges double, Towns cutting, and jackhammers. And New York's got the lead.
He threw down a massive dunk to finally take the lead. At this point, it felt like the fouls were part of the plan to save energy. Now it was a true clutch moment. Either team could take it. Even though Brunson, like Towns, was in foul trouble too, he picked up his fifth and went back to the bench. New York had already shifted to making Towns their go-to guy.
Gonna ride the hot hand here of Cat.
Towns three. Good! What a shot!
Well,
He added a step-back three and was up to 20 points in the fourth alone. Ironically, New York's defense actually looked better without Brunson. Indiana looked totally rattled by Towns taking over the show. Nesmith going ISO wasn't exactly what Indiana wanted. Unlike earlier in the series, the Pacers really fell apart in the fourth. Coach Thibodeau kept Brunson on the bench, feeling the momentum. Indiana, finally stopping Towns once on D, got a huge clutch block from Siakam right after, giving them a chance to tie things up. Siakam hit both free throws and tied the game for Indiana, so New York finally brought Brunson back in.
It's Brunson. That shot clock is low. Driving inside on Nesmith and got the teardrop to go down. Wow. 20.
Fully rested, he scored a clutch bucket over Nesmith. But Nesmith didn't look 100% after the earlier injury, but the Knicks blew the next possession to stretch the lead. So the gap was still just 2 points. It was down to a single possession game now.
Turner for the lead. Rebound flying inside, and a foul called and down go.
But Miles Turner missed a big go-ahead three. And now Indiana was in real trouble. With little time left, all they could do was foul. But Brunson calmly hit both free throws, and New York held on to their 2-possession lead. Siakam's missed three basically sealed the game. So the Knicks, once down 20, pulled off a stunning comeback win, avoiding what could have been the end of their season. The fight New York showed in the second half felt just like that comeback against Boston from earlier. Indiana, who looked set to go up 3-0, lacked Haliburton's clutch factor and let a near-certain win slip through their fingers. Towns absolutely owned the final quarter with a crazy performance, probably thanks to the energy he saved while sitting with fouls. Honestly, the Knicks should just start every game down 20 from now on.